James, a seasoned project manager, was often on the move, shuttling between cities for business. The job paid well, no doubt, but things got trickier once he tied the knot. Being away from home became emotionally draining, especially with his wife, Rita, reacting badly every time he packed his bags. She'd get worked up, stage tearful farewells, and occasionally threatened to leave for her mom's if he dared step out that door. Jim, ever the peacekeeper, would try to explain, "It's work, honey. I love what I do," but his words rarely calmed the storm. More often than not, he'd find himself dragging her suitcase back inside, soothing her nerves, and promising things would get better. Over lunch one afternoon, a colleague raised the question, "Why do you put up with all that?" The guy, Midwell, probably even advised Jim to set some boundaries, but Jim just chuckled, shaking his head. How could he explain the tangled web of married life to someone still single and blissfully unaware? Despite the roller coaster, something shifted 2 years into their marriage. Rita had news. Big news. She was pregnant. The announcement caught Jim off guard, but it filled him with joy. They were in a good place financially, and the thought of becoming a dad filled him with a kind of hope he hadn't felt in years. 9 months down the line, baby Mila arrived. A tiny bundle of wonder who changed their world overnight. Rita mellowed out, pouring her energy into motherhood. Arguments became fewer and farther between. She barely had time to fuss, wrapped up in diapers, lullabies, and midnight feedings. But as Mila grew older, cracks began to reappear. During one trip, an argument flared so hot that Rita, in a fit of rage, flung Jim's clothes out of his suitcase and all over the hallway. The ruckus startled Mila awake, leaving her wide-eyed and frightened. Later that night, a remorseful Rita admitted she'd gone too far. She apologized, recognizing how quickly her emotions could spiral. Yet despite these flare-ups, love still lived in their home, evident in the quiet moments when they made up, held each other close, and promised to do better. Eventually, Jim made a life-altering decision. He quit his job and took a new position that kept him closer to home. Rita lit up at the news. She had longed for this, for him to put their little family before the endless grind. After returning from his last trip, Jim treated Mila to some ice cream at their favorite cafe. Just the two of them, laughing and chatting like best buddies. Later, on their way back from kindergarten, Mila leaned in, her voice playful and secretive. "Daddy," she whispered, "I have a secret." Jim braced himself for something lighthearted, maybe a story about a boy she liked or a silly prank at school. Instead, her next words knocked the wind out of him. "Sometimes when you're not here," she said matter-of-factly, "Mom picks me up with her friend Uncle Dennis. He comes to our house, too." Jim's stomach twisted. He stared at her, hoping she'd say it was a game, but she didn't. His face hardened and his mind raced. Rage bubbled just beneath the surface, though he kept it in check for now. That night, he couldn't sleep. The weight of suspicion pressed down on him, relentless. Unsure of how to confront Rita, Jim turned to his longtime friend, Cyril. After hearing him out, Cyril leaned back and said, "You need to know for sure. Hire someone. Let a professional keep an eye on her." Jim hesitated. "But what if she only sees him when I'm gone?" Sir gave a dry laugh. "Come on, man. If something shady is going on, they won't suddenly stop. They might just hide it better when you're home." Reluctantly, Jim agreed. The next 2 weeks crawled by like years. He was on edge the whole time. Strangely, Rita seemed unusually calm. No arguments, no tension, just quiet. The day finally came, the one Jim had been dreading and anticipating in equal measure. The detective had arranged a discreet meeting in the underground parking lot of a shopping mall. It was the kind of place people passed through quickly, eyes down, minds elsewhere, perfect for avoiding attention. Jim sat in his car, fingers drumming the steering wheel, nerves taut. When a quiet knock startled him, he flinched. A man in a sharp blue coat leaned down beside the window. "James," the man greeted, calm and professional. He handed over a thick envelope. "It's not sealed," he added. Jim hesitated, holding the envelope like it might burn him. "What's inside?" The man gave a slight nod. "Take a look." With a shaky hand, Jim opened it. A stack of photographs spilled into his lap. Each image was crisp, time-stamped, and taken across various parts of the city. In everyone, the same man appeared, standing too close to Rita, touching her back, kissing her cheek, holding her hand. "Do you recognize him?" Jim asked stiffly. "All the details are inside," the detective replied. There, neatly folded behind the photographs, was a piece of paper with the man's full name, place of work, and other personal information. Jim stared at the words. Colleague. Someone Rita had probably introduced once or twice, just enough to make him invisible. How long had she been seeing him? How long had she been lying, smiling, pretending? After settling the payment and parting ways with the detective, Jim drove straight to his parents' house. He dropped off Mila, not wanting her anywhere near what was coming. Then he headed home. Rita was already there, calm, waiting. Jim didn't say a word. He walked straight into the kitchen and tossed the photos onto the table like cards at the end of a losing hand. She glanced at them one by one, her expression unreadable. Then she looked up, not with guilt, not with fear, but with something dangerously close to amusement. "Are you seriously spying on me?" she snapped, eyes blazing. "That's insane." Jim stood frozen. He'd expected denial, tears, maybe even a desperate plea. But not this. Not defiance. Not indifference. Jim's voice was low, controlled. "You've got 1 day to pack." Rita raised an eyebrow. "I was going to ask for a week, but fine. A day is enough." And that was it. She walked out like it cost her nothing. In the aftermath, Jim tried to make sense of her cruelty, why she had dragged things out, why she had played the part of a wife when her heart had clearly been elsewhere. He never got an answer. What he did get was custody. He insisted on it. Rita, distracted and disinterested, signed the papers without protest. She promised to visit Mila. She never did. Jim soon learned she hadn't stayed with Dennis either. She was spotted around town, clinging to various men, often intoxicated. It was a slow unraveling, one Jim watched from a distance, relieved. Not out of spite, but because he didn't want his daughter exposed to that kind of chaos. Jim never rushed into another relationship. The betrayal had carved deep, and he didn't have room for anything else. Instead, he poured himself into fatherhood. He and Mila traveled, laughed, made memories. His mother stepped up too, filling the void with warmth and steady love. In many ways, she became the maternal figure Mila needed. Years passed. One quiet evening, a teenage Mila sat beside her father and asked gently, "Dad, what really happened with Mom?" Jim told her the truth. Not the angry version, not the hurt one, but the honest one. When he finished, Mila leaned into him, her voice steady. "You did the right thing. I'm glad it was you who raised me." And in that moment, something inside Jim eased. Sometimes, all it takes is a single moment of clarity to find peace and live a life no longer defined by what was lost, but by what was saved. Cheating Secrets podcasts like me